I'm here in the middle of a corner next to the restroom over there so that I don't bother people, because Japan has an infestation of influencers trying to take advantage of it for content's sake, just like I am doing right now. The only difference between me and other people is I'm cool and they're not. You wouldn't really think that this place is one of the loneliest places in the world by looking at the backdrop with the thousands of people behind me who are probably wondering, why is that guy filming this video next to the bathroom? Well, the answer to that question is, if I were to go film it even about 100 feet in front of me, behind me, I'd be getting in people's way. This is one of the most famous places in the entire world. If you go search up Japan on the internet, the backdrop behind me is very likely to show up. And the interesting thing is, once you live here and get used to the culture, that luster that Japan has, the futuristicness of it, all starts to sort of fade away, and it becomes just like any other place in the world, like your backyard. And you wouldn't really think it, but I've been coming here almost every day for a year now. And even though you have all of these people from around the world with interesting things to say and perspectives that I will never have in my life, I still take it for granted every once in a while. You wouldn't think that all the people walking around right here behind me would be living in a culture that is currently suffering from hikikomori, the loneliness crisis, the decline in the birth rate. The thing about Japan is it's a culture where you don't have to tell somebody, hey, fuck you, stop doing that, in order to get someone to stop with their bad behavior, because it doesn't happen in the first place. Japan is a culture where I don't want to sound like Logan Paul and be like, Japan's all about the respect. It's very rare that a stranger is going to give you problems. The only thing about it is, because nobody ever wants to talk to each other in Japan and risk being annoying, it also comes with positive risks, like talking to somebody who could potentially be your friend. Japan has a very, very big loneliness crisis right now, because Japanese people have this horrible fear of rejection. And I think one of the things I actually learned to appreciate about Western culture is, well, you might get a strange squirrely eye from somebody if you end up walking up to them on the street trying to start a conversation. The likelihood that that person is going to scour away in fear from your risk in trying to talk to them is a lot lower there than it would be here in Japan. In fact, I've lived here for about 2 years, and most of the friends that I've made in Japan have been on the internet, because I've been lucky enough to even have an audience of people to broadcast myself to. And that's something that is really interesting about the modern era. This booming economy right behind me is kind of an illusion. It's not really real. This illusion of community doesn't exist, and instead we're all in our little corners living our own lives, our own little stories, and not really sharing them with one another, except for when it's on the internet like this. So this whole thing is a bit of a paradox behind me, and I wanted to just share that with all of you, because it's one of those little things that I think about. Japan is, I wouldn't call it depressing. It's just quiet, and it's almost too quiet. So for anybody who's living in the United States or Europe or a country where you can talk to your fellow compatriot, why don't you do so a little bit more often and learn a bit from Japan's problems a bit, if you will. Of course, I don't want to shit on Japan by any means, because it's a pretty brilliant culture in its own right. All that to say that I hope that someday you guys end up coming over here, experiencing it for yourself, because it is a wonderful place. You can get really fucked up on beer in the center of it here in Shinjuku or Shibuya, or, you can go and find a little onsen in the outskirts of the city and have yourself a nice bath. To be completely honest with you guys, I just wanted to see if I had the balls enough to do this, because trying to broadcast yourself in front of a lot of other people who don't really know what the fuck you're doing can be pretty nerve-wracking. And if I told you that I wasn't a little nervous right now, I'd obviously be lying. But I love you all in the fact that we're all trying to connect with one another. So what better way to profess about being lonely than in one of the busiest parts in the entire world? I don't really have too much else to add today.